Assalamu alaikum. I am Ramna Saeed and you are watching Reality Check. Tonight, 3 stories that ask one important question: who really pays the price for progress? In India's Himalayan region, another massive infrastructure project has turned into a tragedy after a tunnel collapse claimed lives and left workers trapped underground. In Madhya Pradesh, tribal families spent days standing in a river, sleeping on symbolic funeral pyres, and risking everything to protest a dam project they say could erase their homes and way of life. Let's separate the headlines from the reality. Another major infrastructure project in India has turned into a disaster. This time, the tragedy unfolded in northeastern state of Sikkim, where an under-construction tunnel for a government-owned hydropower project suddenly collapsed. At least 9 workers have lost their lives, while around 15 remained trapped underground. And as rescue teams continue the race against time, this incident took place in a tunnel being built for a hydroelectric project on the Teesta River. According to disaster management officials, between 25 and 27 workers were inside the tunnel when powerful blast deep underground caused part of the structure to collapse. Authorities say the exact cause of the blast is still unknown, and officials believe it may have been triggered by a natural geological event, but investigations are still underway because the explosion occurred deep inside the tunnel, making it difficult to determine what exactly happened. Rescue operations have also become extremely dangerous because large quantities of methane gas released from underground rock formations have filled parts of the tunnel, forcing authorities to send in only specially equipped oxygen-supported rescue teams. Mining rescue specialists have also been deployed as emergency workers carefully search through the unstable debris. For families waiting outside, every passing hour matters. Unfortunately, this is not an isolated incident. India has witnessed several major infrastructure disasters in the recent years. In 2023, 41 workers were trapped for 17 days after a highway tunnel collapsed in the Himalayan state of Uttarakhand before they were finally rescued alive. Earlier this month, 9 workers were killed after a massive garbage mound collapsed onto a waste-to-energy plant near Pune following heavy monsoon rains. Environmental experts have repeatedly warned that the rapid expansion of roads, tunnels, dams, and hydropower projects across the fragile Himalayan region is increasing the geological risks. The Himalayas are one of the world's most youngest mountain ranges, making them naturally unstable. Heavy rainfall, landslides, seismic activity, and extensive construction can all increase the danger for workers and the nearby communities. The Indian government argues that these projects are essential for improving infrastructure, boosting economy growth, and meeting the country's growing energy demand. Officials say strict safety standards are followed and a full investigation will determine what caused the collapse. However, critics also argue that repeated incidents raise broader concerns about construction safety, environmental impact, and assessments, and whether development is sometimes moving faster than safety precautions. For the families of those trapped, the debate can wait, but right now, their only hope is that rescue teams reach the survivors in the time. But the real question is, as India accelerates the infrastructure development across sensitive mountainous region, are safety standards and environmental risks receiving the same priority as the ambitious construction targets? India's tribal communities are under pressure. Hundreds of tribal women, children, even entire families lying on symbolic funeral pyres, others standing chest deep in river water. These were not scenes from a natural disaster. They were scenes from one of India's biggest protests against government development project. For nearly 15 days, tribal community in Madhya Pradesh protested against the Ken-Betwa River Linking Project, saying that they would rather die than lose their ancestral land. Then, before dawn, thousands of police personnel cleared the protest site. Protest leaders were detained while authorities said hunger strikers were moved for medical treatment. The project, worth 44,600 crore, is being promoted by the Indian government as a landmark initiative that will provide irrigation, drinking water, and electricity to millions. But critics say the government's development model comes at the expense of its most vulnerable citizens. Thousands of tribal families fear displacement. Villages could disappear beneath the dam reservoir, and forests that indigenous communities have relied on for generations may be submerged. Protesters allege that they were not properly consulted, compensation has been inadequate, and legal protections for tribal communities, including Gram Sabha consent under the Forest Rights Act and extension to Scheduled Areas Act, were ignored or bypassed. Critics argue that this reflects a broader pattern in India where large infrastructure projects are pushed while the concerns of the tribal and indigenous communities receive far less attention than economic and political objectives. They say that communities are often asked to sacrifice their homes and livelihoods in the name of national development, while their voices struggle to influence government's decision. The Indian government rejects these allegations. It maintains that the project follows legal procedures, that compensation and rehabilitation are being implemented under the law, and that the project will benefit millions by improving water security and agricultural productivity. But for many protesters, the issue is no longer about just one dam. It's about how the state treats its own people. Can development be called inclusive if those paying the highest price believe that they were never truly heard? Because progress should not only be measured by dams, highways, and mega projects. It should also be measured by how government protects the rights, dignity, and livelihoods of its most vulnerable citizens. The real question is, can India achieve its development goals while ensuring that tribal communities are partners in progress and not casualties of it? A tunnel collapse that reminds us that development must never come at the cost of workers' safety. The voices of tribal communities remind us that the true progress is not measured only by bridges, dams, or highways, but also by how fairly the people are treated. Whether it's building infrastructure, protecting communities, the real challenge is finding the balance between ambition and responsibility. That's all for today's reality check. I'm Ramna Saeed. Thank you for watching. Allah Hafiz.